Rosie Newman. I'm a lecturer at UHI Inverness. I'm an artist, an interdisciplinary artist, and I've always been interested in ways to connect people with nature.
I'm Francisca. I'm a postdoc here at the Scottish Association for Marine Sciences, and most of my research revolves about microalgae. I've always been interested in microalgae. I studied them in different habitats. I'm also very interested in art, but I'm not an artist myself. So about a year ago, I got an invitation from UHI Inverness to talk to artists about what they're working on, and they were really keen on learning what the scientists were doing and hopefully get inspiration for their art. And that's where I met Rosie.
And I was one of the co-organisers of the event, and I was viewing different scientists' presentations and different artists' presentations, and I was really fascinated by Francesca's images of microalgae.
So she wanted to know more about it, so I talked a bit about the different projects I worked on. I worked on harmful microalgae, which causes blooms. I also worked on microalgae which are used for food. And I worked on microalgae which come from Antarctica, which are really key in their ecosystem. Those images really gave Rosie some inspiration. So what made you do that, or why did you start working with those?
Well, I think it was like because we kind of decided it would just be quite fun to collaborate ourselves, and we didn't really know how to or where to start. Our main motivation was let's just give it a go. How can we sort of combine our different ways of looking at the world? And we started off by sort of asking each other questions, and then you showed me lots of images, and you told me lots of facts about algae that I didn't know before, so I was really drawn in. But some of the images that you showed me were so astounding and beautiful, and I felt quite sort of privileged to be able to be someone who gets to see these images that were sort of brought up from the ocean, that I was like, wow, there's nothing I can do with these, they're already perfect. You know, nature at its best. The colours were amazing, the shapes were amazing. I was really attracted to them and interested in them.
There's so many different shapes, colors, sizes, but we don't really show that to the people. We describe them in scientific articles, or we do our research and we publish it. So we don't really show that diversity in that world to the people. So I was really keen on seeing how Rosie would interpret it and how she could bring those images and the knowledge of microalgae to more a general public. So why did you choose to use the materials?
Yeah, the materials that I've been working on for a while included making spiral headdresses. I'd experimented with putting spiral headdresses on people in the sea. Being a sea swimmer, that's something we have in common. And it was a way of kind of bringing people into the waters, but also becoming quite sort of at one with the waters. The spiral is used, or maybe as a metaphor for that connection with the sea, that it looks quite ancient. It's also reminiscent of the Fibonacci code, which is a magical sort of number in nature and a shape that's seen again. I've been using it as a symbol, really, to connect the past and the future and people with the ocean. And the way that the surface is created was something that I looked into with the microalgae. I thought I could use the images that you have and translate them onto metal. You are the artwork. It's just so great to have you wearing this and experiencing and being this kind of living life form in the ocean, like the creatures that you study.
Yeah, that was quite a unique experience being part of the art, Normally when I engage with art, it's just something to look at. So it was very different for me to actually be in the performance of it. Never done that before, of course, quite nervous, but I had to say it was absolutely amazing. It was a really relaxing atmosphere and it really brought the art closer to me, which I really enjoyed actually engaging and seeing the different perspective of how I see microalgae and how an artist interprets it and how we can together bring that into like a performance art. And it started with a simple collaboration and has been spiraling out of control.
I never really know how these things are going to end, and unlike science and data, you know, you look for something and you have facts and figures and a conclusion, whereas I think as an artist I kind of explore and go around all the nooks and crannies and eddies, and to me it's a process, so it doesn't kind of end here. It's like it will, you know, keep organically growing. I think I do have a few things up my sleeve with some other spirals that are in the exhibition. So I'm hoping to invite other people to try the headdresses on and maybe even go in the sea themselves. I'm really interested in phenomenology, which is a way in which we use our senses to engage in what's around us, in nature in particular. I think being in the sea is just such a magical other world. It literally is breathtaking and breath-giving, as it gives us so much oxygen.
So I wild swim, I'm used to the water, but still in May last year, it wasn't very warm. It was about 10 degrees, the water, plus taking pictures. I'm not really comfortable with that. But it was actually a really nice experience and it really helped me because I was in a place that I enjoy. I regularly swim, I'm in the water. So the moment that spiral came on and the cameras came off, I was just swimming underwater and it was quite normal, quite natural, which sounds very strange when you're wearing a headdress. But it was actually a really nice experience.
And yeah, when you put the headdress on, you became the performer, or maybe yourself, I don't know.
I do not walk around at home with a head spiral on.
I know, but maybe an invisible one. The other thing about microalgae, which is really important too, is about perspective and about, like you say, having a different perspective as a scientist on your research, and also as an audience or as an artist, kind of thinking about the perspectives of other beings. That's kind of blew my mind quite a bit, you know, this idea that we all perceive this world in so many different ways. I asked you, how do they see? Because we were talking about UV light. And have they got eyes? And no, but they can sense. They sort of see in a different way.
They have light pigments, so they can actually sense light. They can sense the direction of the light and move towards light or away from light. So they do have perception, just different interpretation than we do.
Yeah, which makes you kind of think about how many different ways there are of being, of how many different life forms there are in this world, not just the ocean, but not only just different humans, we all have a different perception, but everything does. And I think for the health of the planet, you know, introducing that concept or reintroducing that concept to people and to children to engage in the fact that it's not just us. You know, there are so many life forms that all have a right to be here.
For me, it was a really interesting experience collaborating with an artist. You get a very different perspective on how you can engage with people, how you can present your art or your work, and you just get a different idea about it. And engaging with it was just amazing, and I would highly recommend, if you ever get a chance, engage with artists and see that different perspective and come up with different ways of presenting your scientific research so more people will know about what you're doing and the importance of it.